bag to carry all of what you got in.
Right.
Wow.
Inflation is real.
Yeah.
Okay.
You do have a quorum,
Thank you.
and so I will start the recording. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Cindy Lou. All right. Welcome, everyone. Today is, what is today? Today is June 30th, Wednesday. It is 5:08, and we are here for the Racial Equity and Policing Commission meeting. And welcome to all of the commissioners. This is the final commission meeting of this iteration of phase one. So we are here to do a number of things to kind of wrap up this phase and acknowledge and appreciate all of the hard work of the commission and the commissioners individually and the commissioners collectively and their small group works and as a full commission. There's been a lot of work done since you got started, and I wouldn't even begin to ask you to add up the number of hours that you have invested in this work because you probably get mad and wouldn't come back. So I just want to say thank you for all of the time that you have invested in this work, because it's just so important, and clearly the outcomes, I think, are really going to positively impact your constituents, your colleagues, your friends and family, and your communities, as well as the police department, because this isn't done with any animus toward the police department. I think we all have acknowledged it's done with the idea and expectation to try to make everything better inside and out. So that's really the approach to this work. So thank you for all of that.
If I could just add special thanks to the Langdon Group, to the chief and his staff, to the mayor, and to the city council. They have helped us tremendously to be able to do what we've been able to do. So thank you to all of you.
Absolutely.
Second that.
I'll give you my Venmo information. You can drop me a little coin.
All right. I don't know how to do that, but I'll figure it out.
And I want to make sure that you received the report this morning. Was it sent out? Did you all receive the report? Because we forwarded it, but Coletta is out, and so I'm not sure if it was in fact forwarded. So somebody tell me it was.
It was forwarded this afternoon, though.
Okay.
4:30.
4:30?
Okay, well, it didn't have a lot of time to percolate, but at least you have a copy in your
Okay.
inbox. That's
All
good
right.
to know.
All right. Well, before we get to that, I do want to acknowledge that there were still some listening sessions that were ongoing just up until yesterday, and the work that Larry was doing to ensure that the variety of communities that wanted and needed to be heard were actually heard. So I'll just pause and turn it over to Larry just to offer. As we go through the agenda, we'll get to some public comment in just a moment, but just want to offer Larry the opportunity for some download on those listening sessions.
Thanks, Dante. I really thought of it as a special privilege to get to do what I'll call the phase two listening sessions. I know we talk about this as being phase one of the commission's work, but the way I'm thinking of it is, we did listening sessions towards the beginning of our work, particularly with officers, the chief and his deputy and assistant chiefs, school resource officers and the like. And then here in the last few weeks, we've talked with a number of different communities: the Hispanic and Latinx community, the Black and African American community, the LGBTQ plus community, the Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander community, and the South Asian, Asian American and Middle Eastern communities. A huge thanks to Commissioners Johnson, Prospero, Hawkins, Banuri, Sagado Maga, and Smith in particular for their tremendous help in making these sessions happen and be fruitful. What you're seeing on the screen is essentially a quick compilation that I tried to do today of comments by subcommittee that were made across the 5 different listening sessions that I just enumerated. And so obviously it's a work in progress. But the biggest thing I want to share with you at a high level is that the people who participated in these listening sessions to a person expressed strong support and appreciation for the commission's incredible work. They also had substantive suggestions, both in the way of others that should be engaged in your work going forward, and in terms of how your recommendations should be implemented. And so we're intending to put the raw notes, or the notes from the sessions, into your report as an appendix or as appendices. But I will do my utmost to clean this document up a little bit more and summarize the feedback that we received in these sessions, because once you all reconvene, I think it will be very valuable. And one commissioner even said that, she was hearing things for the first time in these listening sessions, perspectives that she had not yet heard. And so I really feel proud and appreciative of the folks who joined, but proud of the fact that we were able to get new and important input at this phase of your work. One thing I want to highlight is there was a tremendous amount of interest in the school safety subcommittee's work, particularly amongst the folks who joined the African American and Black community call, as well as the Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander. I would go so far as to say that during that call, that was the predominant topic, and the group kept coming back to it over and over again. If I can, on the fly, summarize, I think there just is a lot of ongoing interest in and concern with the nature of the SRO's role on campus, and a desire to really see that be, if it is to continue, have it be defined in such a way that, for lack of a better way of putting it, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. There's concern about the various other roles they may end up playing, that they may not be as equipped or licensed to perform some of those duties, but also that they, run into challenges when they are, perceived as the police officers that they are. Some students have a hard time with that. So a desire to have a very comprehensive stakeholder engagement process associated with the renegotiation of the MOU, or the discussion around the MOU's extension.
What I think is really encouraging about that, Larry, is that a lot of the things that are in process or have been talked about in the school safety subcommittee are addressing some of these concerns. So it's nice to see that we're hopefully, for the most part, in touch with what people are wanting and are headed that direction. So that's great.
One crossover theme that I remember from the session Commissioner Hawkins helped us organize with the LGBTQ plus group was that, as I think we already know, youth suicide rates are particularly high in the LGBTQ plus youth population. And so the focus on incorporating mental health professionals into the response done by police was noteworthy to that group. So I just wanted to, to flag that.
Can I just make a quick comment on that, Larry?
Sure.
If I might. I just want to say, there's been obviously a whole lot of now focus on the elevated suicide rates for youth in general and LGBTQ youth specifically. But I often get the feeling that folks think that this is some new phenomenon. And I vividly recall, and I tell people this story all the time. In 1988, I was working on Jesse Jackson's campaign here in Colorado, and Jesse came to Denver. And we took him to one of the larger high schools in Denver in 1988. And all the students were in the gym. And as he was talking to everyone, at one point he said, he was talking about a number of things and trauma and all the stuff going on, but he asked everyone who had either considered suicide or knew someone who had considered suicide to please stand up. And half the gym stood up in 1988. So this is not a new phenomenon. And I just want people to really understand that the lack of focus over the decades, I also would suggest, has brought us to where we are now, just now trying to address this issue.
I agree with you, Dante. Thanks. I do agree with you.
I also saw Commissioner Shiflett had raised her hand, but she did comment in the chat. Commissioner Shiflett.
I just wanted to say I agree with Dante. This is not new, and I don't know why we're paying attention to it now, but I just remember when my oldest was getting ready to graduate from high school. And I said, what do you want? And he says, Mom, I just want to graduate alive. And I'm like, what? Where'd that come from? So that's been on the kid, and he's 41 years old. So it's been a concern that we just have been ignoring, I think.
The other issue that I wanted to comment on is the SROs. In the African American community, we are deeply concerned that leads our young people directly to the prisons, and that starts with the SROs in the school. And most of the time when an incident occurs that involves one of our African American students, they're the ones who get the blame and get charged regarding whatever the incident is.
Reverend, thanks for that. Commissioner Shiflett, did you want to add?
Yeah, I wanted to let everybody know that screening that I did, what is it, a year and a half ago, Push Out, the criminalization of Black girls, has made the big screen. So if you get a chance to see it, it is about this very thing, is pushing Black population right now, Black girls out of school and criminalizing them. So, but it has, I was just told that it did make the big screen.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that's really great. I wanted to just emphasize that, you know, there's a very strong desire on the part of several groups we spoke with to, you know, really transform the relationship that school resource officers have to the campuses that they serve, and even to scrutinize how decisions are made regarding the selection of an SRO for a particular campus, as well as why a campus might or might not receive a school resource officer. So really a top to bottom review that I think the subcommittee had already been, you know, contemplating. But I would encourage the folks on that subcommittee and anyone else working on the potential renegotiation of that MOU to engage some of these folks, because I think they'd really like to have a voice in the process and a seat at the metaphorical or literal table. Let me touch on training for just a moment. I think that there was a good bit of conversation, particularly in the South Asian, Middle Eastern conversation. We happened to have a clinician in that call. And so we talked a little bit about the CIT training and the desire to make sure that, you know, officers didn't just receive that training, but were really, you know, scrutinized for their preparedness to respond in a situation that is a bona fide crisis. He also specifically talked about frequently having to sort of, I don't know how to say it, not justify, but sort of provide his credentials to officers when he's in a response, and how difficult that can make a situation when, you know, he's assisting with response for, say, a refugee and their language barrier issues, and he's trying to address an emergent situation, and the officers are, you know, not aware of his role, or not trusting that he has a right to be there. So certainly for a more in-depth discussion, and a little bit more in the policy and practice domain, but it got touched upon when we were talking about CIT training. And then, of course, there was reference made to just the need for deeper cultural awareness that we talked about at length, that the officers need to receive training on how different cultures will react to them, both in terms of historical issues and trauma, but also in terms of cultural mores. And there was a lot of interest in that. There, in the Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander conversation, a lot of conversation about specifically the training of SROs. Again, I mean, that was the dominant theme. And there was mention of the Mana Academy for some cultural training that could be useful. And particularly helping officers understand, school resource officers understand more about, you know, child development and adolescent development. Again, with the LGBTQ+, there was an interest in the mental health component of police response and training. The African-American community also wants to see more mental health training, and perhaps a different responder for some of those circumstances. And I recall the Native American Indigenous group having some productive conversation as well in support of the training subcommittee's recommendations. As you'll recall, the training subcommittee also looked at the interview process and recruitment, and so some of that was folded in to those conversations. Lastly, I'm sorry to take so much time, but on the policies and practices front, the Native American and Indigenous group had a lot to say about a desire to see the way police respond to be, modified, and in particular, understanding more about the potential for civilian responses, civilian mental health professionals involved in response, and how they could better work together with police officers. They suggested also that the state multicultural affairs board of juvenile justice be engaged. Also, tribes that have their own law enforcement could be helpful partners and allies in understanding this better. I mentioned some of the LGBTQ plus comments. The African American group had some interesting feedback on the 911 call experience. That there, and Commissioner Johnson could speak to this better than I, but that there were, hurdles to overcome in terms of how an African American or Black person feels when they are calling 911, because they are unsure who will actually end up responding and what kind of officer they will interact with from the standpoint of their having cultural humility and some of the other qualities that we've talked about. We also talked about adding questions to that 911 script that would make sure the response is the correct one. And the Native Hawaiian group also just wanted there to be some sort of student oversight for the school resource officers. So again, these just wrapped yesterday, and so that's why I'm just sort of scattershot here and giving you a lot of different pieces of feedback. But again, want to acknowledge the commissioners who helped with these sessions to make them happen and who shared so beautifully. Also want to acknowledge Cindy Lou, Kira Luke, Jesse Egan, and I know we had a couple of other note takers. Sven was a note taker, I believe, one of our interns. So thank you all so much.
For your information, I've just been appointed to the board of the 911 training department. So any suggestions about about information that needs to be gotten out, if you can get it to me, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you, Reverend.
Reverend David, I'd reference the recommendation 5 from the policy practice subcommittee. It relates to that, so that's great.
Thank you. Any thoughts, questions, comments for Larry and the recent listening session?
I just have a quick comment for Larry. The session that he moderated yesterday was fantastic. I'm not sure how he processes the information so fast and in a way that the participants as well as listeners were able to jump into the issues right away instead of having any gap in between. I am personally extremely thankful to Larry for having done that.
That's great to hear.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Appreciate that.
High praise. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's all from me. I did see Commissioner Shiflet's hand is still up. I don't know if she had more comment or if she was, if it's an old hand. I think it was an old hand.
Okay.
It was, sorry.
All right. Thank you. So before we jump into the report, just wanted to see if there was any public comment, if there was anyone on the line or anyone wanting to share any thoughts from the public perspective.
Yeah, there's no one that's called in, although Sherry Whitwer is on Zoom. So I don't know if she was interested in speaking, but she's here.
We're at your last shot for a while if you want to have a conversation. So we'd love for you to make any comment if you like.
I am just here to listen, but thank you.
You're most welcome. Appreciate your presence today and previously. You've been right with us all the time, so much appreciated. So to the report. You got it fairly late, so haven't really had a chance to read in detail and digest. But I can pull it up and just kind of go through, not detail, but just maybe a high level of what it was that we were trying to capture, because that's really what we wanted to make sure you were comfortable with, that the information most relevant that you most want to ensure the communities that you serve are aware of the process. I think that we talked about some of the challenges to the work and other things like that. So before I do that, are there any, for those of you who maybe had a chance to take a look, any preliminary questions that might be important to discuss? Okay, so I'm going to share it and hopefully everything works well. There we go. Can everybody see the screen? Is it showing?
Yes.
Okay, great. So thanks to the Langdon Group and their graphic designers and all of that for all of the formatting and all of the work that they did. Much appreciated. So it's a lovely picture of your city right up front. Table of contents, et cetera, et cetera. I'll skip all this stuff. The Corps Commissioners provided a commentary, thanks, gratitude, kind of an overall context of what the Commission's work was, how it functioned, and its gratitude for everyone involved in the work. One thing that I recognized too late before it kind of went to this formatting, and we will certainly fix it, is did not, in the same way that we named the Corps Commissioners, the Commissioners and the Commission Staff Liaison, did not do that with the police officers. And I absolutely think that that's an important component to make sure that they are recognized in the same way everyone else for their engagement and work. So Chief, my apologies for not getting you and the command staff, Lieutenant Zayas and others listed in here. I guess the question would be, do you think the individual officers would like to be listed as well, or not? Because we can certainly do that as well.
You know, Dante, I think that would be really nice. I think they've enjoyed being part of these discussions, and I think they really appreciated being invited in. So
great, happy to do that. And again, my apologies, we didn't get through that in the first part. I'm sorry.
It's not reflective of our appreciation of their involvement. We just simply neglected to list them, and we're adding that now.
Make sure we get all the names correct, or have all the totality of the names. And so scrolling down, just kind of a purpose statement of what the Commission's role and work was designed to be. And then just kind of the methodology of when it was impaneled, who we are, the consultants, what our early work was moving through this. And stop me if you want to take a deeper look at anything. I'm just kind of going through the high level piece. Then we described how we got to the subcommittees, what the subcommittees are, and each subcommittee provided a small piece of kind of the work, how it evaluated the work, what was engaged, what was involved in the evaluative process to get to their recommendations. Some of the documentation you can see here, school safety and kind of what it evaluated and the conversations it had, interviews that it may have done. Same with the training subcommittee, the 21st Century Policing Report, the curriculum that we reviewed, and other things like that. The youth subcommittee, just a quick, not quick, but a description of who made up the youth subcommittee, and if they had the same power and authority as any other commissioner. And then a description of the listening sessions that were done, some of the content of each of the listening sessions, and then specifically broke out the listening sessions for police specifically that we held in the small groups in the subcommittees, and just described why and how that took place.
Dante, if I could just interject, I'll probably just add a couple of bullet points to the list of themes above police specific, just to reflect what I just went over with the commission, those round 2 listening sessions.
Great, thank you. Then you see some of the comments as it related to the police department's comments, separately set out from community comments. And then we discussed the challenges of this work generally. Certainly the online environment was its own challenge in that description. Time, that as we said, how much time you have invested, but the amount of time taken for you to do this work. The open meeting requirements that were sometimes problematic because you can't share an email among everybody, and you couldn't, do certain things because if we had a quorum, then it had to be noticed and had an open meeting. So those, just to comment on that. Just a different level of experience between and among the commissioners, among yourselves. Some of you had done this work a lot, some of you had not. And so stepping into this also could have been its own challenge. The totality of the material involved in being reviewed, from the 800-page, policy manual to all of the other material that was reviewed, just the voluminousness of it was its own challenge that certainly and why there's going to be a phase 2, because we couldn't do everything certainly in phase 1.
Dante, question: Do we have a section where you talk about the difference between the meaning of the word equity and equality and all of that sort of? Do you mention that someplace?
It is not. It is not mentioned, as that was kind of the.
Because that was one of our challenges, I think, okay, was to try to figure out what those words mean.
Okay, that's a good point. We can certainly put in kind of the definition that we all discussed and addressed when I did the session, and that was kind of the agreed upon definition of equity moving forward. Is that what you're suggesting, Reverend?
Not necessarily that we agreed upon it, but rather that we discussed the difference between equity and equality and so forth.
Okay. Okay. That's an easy add, brother. And then the late addition of the facilitators, late as in you had already started some of your work, and so we had to come in and gain your trust, understand the processes that you were using, all of that. And so that was a challenge just because we didn't start when you did. But I think we caught up and did okay. The role of Salt Lake City PD, initially, what was the role to be? Certainly, as we said, that the engagement with the command staff and the commissioners seemed to be smooth and easier than conversations with some of the officers. And so, which is why we had the special session, but just recognize the importance of the engagement with Salt Lake City Police Department. And then the area that lists all of the recommendations from each of the subcommittees, and I'm not going to go through these because you've all seen them and approved them. But this whole section is just to identify those recommendations and highlight them very specifically. So let me make you dizzy as I scroll through all of these and get to the next section, which is here. Just to, I think that was it. Understand our committees. Yes. So then this is the final section, just the continuing opportunities and the desire of the commission to continue its work and what that might look like, and what the goal is, which is profoundly changing culture and understanding, which is an ongoing process of engagement, and what your hopes are as you continue to provide these recommendations and methodologies that hopefully create the best outcomes for all residents of Salt Lake, and specifically those communities of color. And that you want to be continually involved in a meaningful way in the monitoring and oversight of the recommendations that you have provided. So it's not just here they are and you walk away, but still have some type of engagement and ability to engage in the oversight, or just knowing where these recommendations are and how they're moving. The last section is just an appendices of the listening sessions. So all of the comments, all the themes, all of the descriptions and reports that Larry has put together for each of those listening sessions, and the data what those are the final kind of appendices to this document. And so that's the structure of the document. So anything stand out to you that's maybe missing or anything like that? Certainly you'll get a chance to read and see how it's described. We just want to make sure that we're not missing any big something that you want to make sure that is noted and captured in the report.
I'd like to suggest, Dante, that we consider a section on the implementation. Some of the work that the proposals, the recommendations we made were being implemented as we went along. Others still need to be worked on, but to emphasize the need for not just putting this report on the shelf, but rather that it be looked at for implementation purposes.
Well, thank you, Reverend. In here, there are a couple of, there's a section or a couple of statements that describe the reason for putting the reports out, not just at the very end, but in the interim phases so that the work could be done. So we could certainly make the statements that, and I don't think the statements are in here, that some of the recommendations have already been accepted and begun to be implemented by Salt Lake City PD, but I certainly think that's an important statement to make if that's what you're suggesting. Thank you. Any other thoughts? Or from staff as well? Is there anything missing that you think would be helpful in kind of the process as you consider the next phase of this work that maybe wasn't noted?
Hey, Dante, since we just got this, and thanks for that quick review. As we read deeper into it,
yep,
and want to provide suggestions, what do you think? How do you think we should go through that? Should it send to all of y'all, or I don't know, what do y'all think?
That's a great question, because as I've said, I mean, if they are, hopefully if they're bigger things versus wordsmithing the document, that's one thing. So I don't know that I have the answer to that. Today's our supposedly last day, as facilitators anyway. So I guess I would ask Siobhan her thoughts on how something might be incorporated. Because we'll do this. We'll add the officers. We'll add the recommendations are already accepted and moving forward. Some of those just statements. That's easy to do, but so
you're saying these small things we could just send it to the facilitators, and a sentence or two that was been missing, and you guys could just plug it in. But if it's something bigger, then that's a different story.
Well, no, I was actually going to say that yeah, this is our last day, but as always, our commitment is to making this as useful and as complete as it possibly can be. So I would say over the next week, if there are changes, big or small, that you want to suggest, you can send them to me with a copy to the racial equity, the email address that goes to racial equity, and we will make sure that they get included, because it's important that the tone of this document reflect your experience. And so I think it would be a bad process step to skip this. So please do make sure that you send them, and we will get them put in, just because it's the absolute right thing to do. So do send them to me with a copy to racial equity, and we'll make sure they get taken care of.
Thank you, Siobhan. And I guess Dante too.
Yeah, give me a little love. Come on.
Well, Siobhan, only I would like to add, I'm just kidding, Dante. In the challenges, a thought that occurred to me is finding the balance between the urgency of the moment and the importance of good policy development. And I think there are those who wish we could have gone faster and done more, but I really appreciate the due diligence that we took for the recommendations that we had. And I don't know if a sentence could capture that, but the detail that occurred to me that I think might be important in that document.
Yeah, that push-pull, no, I appreciate that.
I just wanted to make everybody aware as it relates to, reporting on community engagement. We, as you know, we had some sessions that there were two groups that met, commissioners and police officers. We did not record those sessions on video, but we did take notes. They're anonymized and summarized at a high level, and they're incorporated into the report. With that as the exception, the appendices will essentially be unabridged. So, I mean, you'll get, just about every comment that we got over the course of our process. So that's not part of what you've received yet, but it shall be, I decree.
Okay. Other thoughts, or certainly Chief, this is supposed to be valuable to you and your department as well. So I'm certainly offering you the opportunity to offer any thoughts or suggestions.
Yeah. And Steve, just so you know, I wrote yours down, so you're off the hook. You don't need to email it to me. I wrote it down.
Oh, no, that's the only way you're going to get it. So if that was directed at me, that's, yeah.
Any staff comments? Just want to double check that.
Dante, unfortunately, I don't think we're still digesting it as well. So we'll be reading it. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Absolutely.
Dante, just real quick, and commissioners, what a beautiful report. Thank you. I didn't see this. I haven't had a chance to look at it either. I've been in meetings all day, so we'll take a look to take some time and pour through it, but it looks wonderful. Thank you for your hard work.
Yes,
You and your staff.
yes, I would just like to parrot that from the mayor's office. We really appreciate all of your hard work, commissioners, our chief, and Dante, and our consultant. Thank you so much for your time.
Welcome, Ashley, on the last day.
I was going to say, do we need to formally introduce Ashley to the group?
Hey, Ashley.
Hi, everyone. For anyone who doesn't know me, my name is Ashley Cleveland. I am the newly appointed Deputy Chief of Staff for Salt Lake City Mayor's Office. I've only been on the job for 3 or 4 weeks, so please forgive me for my tardiness, but I'm here and I'm active, and I'm so happy that you are all here. Thank you for your time.
Congratulations. And commiserations, because you won't get much sleep maybe, but welcome. welcome.
Wow.
Great to meet you, Ashley.
Best wishes.
Welcome, Ashley.
Yeah, welcome, Ashley. You saw now how Dante's rude, but the rest of us are kind.
I congratulated her.
Nice to see you, Ashley. Welcome.
Good to see you as well. Thank you for the warm welcome.
It's good to see you, Ashley.
Yeah, welcome, Ashley.
Thank you.
So Coletta wanted me to make sure that you knew that there was still a work in progress, or maybe Ashley, you can also comment on it, just in terms of the in-person gathering. So maybe Ashley, you have a little more knowledge than I.
Yes, Coletta is wanting to have more in-person meetings when it is safe. They will be hosted outside. So please do not be shy and send her an email. She will be back in the office on the 15th of July.
Wait now, Ashley, do you know how hot it is outside?
It's very hot.
So, I mean, really?
Yeah, we're probably going to choose some shaded spots in the evening, but yes.
That's not going to work.
We just want, I take the outside, okay, any day, over cold, any day over cold weather.
Okay, what's some misters with the misters, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to hook up some mist.
Okay.
Dante, if I could just add to that.
Please.
I think the social gathering, there was a doodle poll sent out as far as your availability for the social gathering, which would be outside. And it's an opportunity to get together and, commemorate the work that's been done in this first year. And then just that in July, we're evaluating the meeting place and meeting times, as Ashley mentioned. So we'll get back to you on commissioners on that schedule.
So do we know when the social gathering is going to be?
So I think we were waiting for the results of the doodle poll.
Oh, okay.
And
I'm sorry.
can you send me a copy of that poll? I don't recall
It
seeing.
looks like Sven mentioned that it was a Google form. So Sven, if you could forward that back out to the commissioners, that would be appreciated. Then that way we can look at the dates, because we were trying to collaborate with both council member representatives and the mayor representatives for those date options.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So now we know who hasn't filled it out. Thanks,
Exactly.
Reverend.
So
Well, that's my nature.
So once again on
Hey, on the report, Dante, forgive me for interrupting you. Ashley, welcome. It is so good to see you. I saw the announcement through the mayor's office, and I was so excited to have you on board. And if I were facilitating, I would have welcomed you at the beginning of the meeting, but that's just the way I roll. Dante, I just want to echo the pastor's position on the successes, including the department's willingness to pick it up as we go. And I really think that's important to show the cooperation that the department gave when there's a good idea. I think it was Chief Doubt that said, if there's a good idea, why wait? Let's do it. Yep. And I think it's huge to acknowledge their partnership. And I don't know, we value where we put our money, I guess. There's some clever statement there, but I really appreciate the council and the mayor actually putting money towards our recommendations, because that is significant. It's paper is one thing, money is another, and I think that acknowledgement should also be recognized.
And speaking of funding, I'd also like to acknowledge the increase to officers' salaries to SLCPD. You know, from outward perspective, that can look counterproductive to the work we're doing, but to see in full picture that the mayor's office is fully putting money, funding, and experience behind both ends of this work, it's really relieving, and I'm really grateful. I hope this new salary incentivizes officers to stay with the department or to attract the right kind of officer, and to make sure that everyone across the state understands that SLCPD is a progressive department and there's nothing wrong with being progressive, and that the work we're doing in collaboration with the police officers is transitional to hopefully what we can get done at the state level, because I know that's been our goal this entire time. So I just wanted to acknowledge that, and thank you, Chief Brown, for really mobilizing your department and being there since 2017.
Thank you, Commissioner Powell. And then Dante, if I could just make one comment, I want to thank the commissioners. I mean, I know the mayor reached out to you and she sent you an email, and you didn't blink, you didn't flinch. You supported that raise, and I know I've had these hard conversations that we want the very best. Our standards here in Salt Lake City should be at the highest levels, and the increase in wages will make sure that we always have the very best officers serving this community. And I say that because Commissioner Davis told me that he was going to hold my feet to the fire if we didn't. So I just want to thank you.
And his offspring, the young mentorees, will too. We're here. We're willing to work with you still, though, as always.
No, I know, but it meant a lot to have the support of the Rep Commission in that press conference. Commissioner Salazar Hall and Commissioner Ahmed Kamal were both there, and so thank you. That meant a lot to us. We appreciate that support. The officers, that didn't go unnoticed. I want you to know that. Thank you.
That's great. That's great. Well, with respect to this is our last session like this, I'm gonna miss y'all. I'm gonna say that up front. I'll miss y'all. But what I would like to do is offer each and every one of you the opportunity to offer some thoughts. And I don't know how to best make sure that you are recognized for all of your work. And so my thought is that I just go down the list and read the names of all of the commissioners and give you an opportunity to offer any final thoughts. I would put the list up, but then you wouldn't be able to see each other. So I don't want to share the screen because I want you to see each other as you speak. So I will do my best with all of the names as I try to pronounce them, and some I have not really pronounced before. So please give me some grace as I do my best to do that. Or please correct me if I'm anywhere near wrong. So I'm just going to go down the list of the core commissioners, the commissioners, and then offer the chief an opportunity to speak on behalf of everyone, because I just think it's so important that you all, for the record, on the record, get to be seen, be heard, and offer your thoughts for this. So I'll just run down the list if I might. So starting out with Commissioner Prospero. You're first up. You're first up. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, I had to put that on mute because, well, I'm just laughing too loud. The reason I'm laughing because this isn't me to talk about a lot of this stuff. I'm just very happy. I've been in other coalitions and groups and stuff like that, and this is a tough one. And I was very pleased to be asked by the mayor to be part of this. And I knew it was going to be a tough process, both within the commission and with PD and the community. And I think we did pretty well, except for bringing in Dante. I think everything went pretty well. Not really, Dante. Yeah, man. Maybe one day you'll come from Colorado to come over here and hang out with those vatos locals over here on the west side, Salt Lake. So very pleased to work with y'all. Hope to continue this work, whether in the commission or outside or wherever. But yeah, thanks.
Thank you, sir. And I'm going to take you up on your invite. Commissioner Reverend Davis.
I'd just like to say how much I appreciate being invited. I think the mayor and the chief and the commission were all very bold in taking a stance regarding evaluation of the department and making some changes. And I want to thank them for reaching out to give us a voice. I also want to say thanks for listening and hearing the concerns that both we and the larger community had, and then being willing to do something about those. So thank you to the Langdon Group, to everybody for their role, and let's keep at it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Salazar Hall.
Thank you, Dante. I, like Reverend Davis and Dr. Prospero, I was very honored to be chosen by the mayor to be a core commissioner. This has been a difficult year, and this has been an ongoing problem. We don't dismantle a systemic institute of racism in one day or even 1 year. So when I signed up for this, I signed up in my mind for a 5 to 10 year project. And I'm, yeah, more like 10 years. I agreed, Dr. Prospero, more like 10 years. But I in my head, thought this is going to take a very long time. And I've been so incredibly impressed with the level of involvement of the city and of law enforcement. And I really hope that now that I think we have good relationships going, that we can really get some good momentum going. I think we got a good start. We learned what we don't know, and now we can really get some really, really good work done now that we have good open lines of communication.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner McDonald.
Wow. New look.
Love it, love it.
I wasn't sure what I had signed up for when I signed up. I knew what needed to happen. I didn't know how we could go about doing it. it was, I mean, we got to know each other when the country was probably at its worst. And we had to learn to trust people we've never met before. And like Commissioner Salazar Hall said, you can't dismantle systemic racism that has existed in this country for hundreds of years in a day or a week or a year. But I am tremendously pleased with the work that we have done and blessed with the relationships that we have formed. And I'm encouraged. Meeting young people like MJ and Ephraim and just the young people that are on the Youth Commission, it's like, wow, this country is in really good hands, because these young people really have their head on straight, and they're going to go far, and they're going to make a tremendous difference in this world. And when I hear them speak, I am just blown away and just wondering, where was I when I was their age? Probably doing something I shouldn't have been doing, but thank them for, I mean, just the level of commitment and involvement from the young people really inspired me, And we have, yes, so much more work to do, but I know that if we can do this, if we can all just continue to build upon the bricks that we've started to lay, we can do anything, and together we can. And I do want to say, Chief Brown, I mean, just so much respect for you for being here every week. Really shows me that you are committed to this work. And I have your back. If anybody has anything to say about that, to tell them to come and talk to me. I got your back. So thank you for showing up. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Sagatamalga.
I'm grateful. I'm really grateful to be a part of this commission and to have been able to work alongside such great people. We did all of this online. Coming into this, I was worried. I was unsure of what this commission was going to be like, if it was just going to be another one of those commission and boards that were set up to look good. But we've been able to do some really hard work. And again, it's amazing to think that all of this was done online by a group of people. Most of us didn't know each other, but I think everyone had the same intentions and really wanted the best for our city, for Salt Lake City, and for the rest of our state. So yeah, again, I'm grateful. Thank you to everyone. I really value all the relationships that were built. Thank you, Chief Brown. It's been nice to have this partnership with Salt Lake PD, and to our facilitators, I love you guys, Dante, Siobhan, Larry, Josh. It's been so nice to work with all of you guys. Yeah, I'm grateful, and I look forward to the work that we're going to continue doing as a commission.
Thank you. And finally, as a core commissioner, Commissioner Ahmad is also a core commissioner, is not able to be here this evening. So we just appreciate his involvement and engagement. So there's a list of commissioners, several who started out with us and weren't able to continue, but I'm still going to read their names. They're listed here. Commissioner Afalava, Commissioner Mbura, Commissioner Batar, Commissioner Tokotaha, and next up is Commissioner Kaili. And I'm not sure if she's here today, but Commissioner Alapesi Kaili has been an important part of this commission. Commissioner Shiflett. Commissioner Shiflett.
Are you calling on me to speak now?
Yes, ma'am. The floor is yours.
All right. It's been a lot of work. When I first got called to do this, I said no, but I was told, because of my schedule, I was told that Reverend Davis wanted me to reconsider. well, after that, you can't say no to Pastor Davis. So I'm glad that I did. I was very hesitant, not because of the time and just the commitment, but it is a good commission to be on. I'm glad I'm on it, although I'm not always here lately, but I'm glad I'm on it because I think we have a lot of work to do. We did a lot of work, but we have so much more to do. Like you said, like Commissioner McDonald said, this is not something that comes overnight. This is something that's going to be hard and we're going to have to take a lot of time to do it. But I thank you for having me as a part of this team. And, I'm the antagonizer. So I'm always going to come with a challenge maybe that's just the social justice side of me, the social work side of me. I'm always going to come with that question that makes you think. So thanks for listening and being patient with me. And thank you, Chief Brown, for putting up with me. I still got your number.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Smith. I know she's on the phone. Commissioner Smith, can you hear us?
I think she needs to press *6 on her
Hello?
phone. There she
There
is.
we are. There you are, please.
Okay, sorry. I just, I'm all emotional. I'm all sorts of emotion right now. As I'm ready to hand in my key in a place that I've resided for a while, but overall Salt Lakes and so 5. I will be making my new journey. My people are calling and I can't not take this opportunity to go back home. So, but one thing I want to say, a couple of things, is that you all are so amazing in your own unique way. When I did think about, this as being an opportunity and how I can be a voice in helping my community, but I'm also grateful that I was able to express and to be in a place where I could be vulnerable and open, some of my traumas. But that was important because in our communities of color, that is something that is not heard. And I do appreciate Siobhan, Larry, Dante, staff, mayor's office, the police department, all of you, for being so supportive, and the work that it still does need to continue. I'm grateful for that opportunity. I have a lump in my throat because I know there is still more work to do, but I know, Samantha's there, so she's an amazing woman as well to support our Native community. And I know as I travel or as I'm driving back, I'm sure I'll be wishing I said this and that, but I just want you all to know from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. And I'm looking forward to hearing many more changes that will happen. And I know that it will be all from where it began, and that's all of you. So thank you for having me be a part of this group.
Thank you so much, Commissioner, and best wishes on your new endeavor. There are several commissioners who aren't also here this evening, many who are youth commissioners, so I want to make sure they're recognized. Some are, some are not, but Commissioner Quenihira, Commissioner Umen, Commissioner Kuhn, Commissioner Afameta, Commissioner Tedeschi, Commissioner Solovi, and Commissioner Romero are not here tonight, but all have been an integral part in doing this work. So next up would be Commissioner Benori, please.
Luna?
Commissioner Benori, are you available? We can come back to her. So Commissioner Suarez.
I guess at the beginning of this, I was a little unsure of what my role would be on the commission. And, but I think I've kind of found my place, and also just makes me very thankful for all the diverse voices on the commission, including the staff and Salt Lake City PD. So, and it makes me proud to be a member of Salt Lake City, and a community member of Salt Lake City. And, you know, I hope the progress continues. As difficult as each of these conversations have been, I think as we push forward, that we can make some great changes for our children, you know, I think about all the young people that look like me, and that will have a better place. And so that's what I hope. And even for the police officers, I hope that they see that that's what we're trying to do, especially as a former police officer. Sometimes I've been, and I've kind of heard this through the grapevine, is that I'm a traitor for being on this commission. And I, you know, like I said before in a few meetings, my wife still works in law enforcement. And there have been a few times maybe when I haven't said something, but with her support, like, you need to start talking and saying what you feel and believe in. So, and I really hope the commission continues, and I want to thank everyone, and it's just been a great experience.
Thank you, Commissioner, and I'm glad you listened to your wife and really noticed your powerful voice. It was very appreciated, so thank you. Commissioner Powell.
There's a million things I could say, but I think the many minutes I've spoken over the course of these calls can accurately, you know, identify my thoughts, feelings, and emotions towards the entirety of this work. And I'd like to give a special shout out to my dead friend Elijah Smith from West Valley. A lot of this work is for you, my friend. A lot of this work is also for the many Black and brown youth that I didn't get to finish graduating high school with. And as I transitioned to the next level, I knew there's always been a fire in me, and I've struggled to identify from which source that comes from. And I think it's an accumulation from the community I was raised in and the people who guided me through life. One important person being here, Reverend Davis, who's known me since I was 6 years old, has guided me professionally and also as a Black man who's fatherless in this community. I really want to do a lot for the youth here, and I want to be impactful, and I want to be impactful for the youth community. So I'm excited to announce that Ephraim and I are doing some really hands-on groundwork now to hopefully get some community youth mentorship programs going. And I'm happy to be able to apply myself in that direction while I'm taking a break from the policy analyst side of work. But with that, I'd also like to say thank you to people like Josh and Saban, and also Dante for just really helping and opening my eyes to how you have to mediate a process between emotion and advocacy, but also political legitimacy, and making sure that you take a well-rounded process to get the work done. So as a young person, I'm inspired. I'm grateful for all of the work and all the other commissioners who set a great example for me. I'm looking forward to hopefully continuing this work here in the fall and really analyzing what we accomplished here in the first phase and steaming ahead. So thank you, everyone. Much love to you. And I hope we have a more peaceful year this next year.
Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you for your voice. It has been much appreciated and much needed. Also want to acknowledge Commissioner Flores, who started with us and hasn't been able to stay with us, but she was also a commissioner. Commissioner Eldridge, please.
Hi, good afternoon or evening.
I've learned a lot being on this commission. As an Indigenous person, I use this time to listen and to take the information I learned back to my community. My hesitancy and silence at sometimes was more of a reflection of our community's mistrust of law enforcement and the long history we have wanting to see change, but never seeing change. So I want to thank and commend the intentional targeted outreach to the Indigenous community and see this as a positive step moving forward in giving our community a voice. I want to especially thank Nicole and Moises, who provided the leadership and heavy lifting with the school safety committee. I also want to echo Darlene's comments and how impressed I've been with our student members and look forward to seeing them in leadership roles in the future. So thank you everyone for sharing your Wednesday evenings with me, and I've enjoyed getting to know all of you.
Thank you, Commissioner, very much. Commissioner Andrew Weirden.
No, I don't have anything to say. Can you imagine if I was like that?
No, I can't imagine.
No, I can't imagine that either.
Nope.
First, to the mayor and the council, thank you for establishing this commission. And I think it took a lot of courage to do that, and particularly with the latitude that we were given to do our work. I think that's a very courageous thing. Also, really struggled with the balance between the importance for police reform and activism and having a police department that actually listens to us. So I think it was important to send a message that something needs to be done, but I also like to balance that against the acknowledgement to you, Mike, and your folks. You've always been open to those conversations, and I think that's huge. And to our facilitators, I think it's an understatement in the report that when y'all got to appreciate the nudge in the right direction sometimes, or nudging forward. Sometimes it came as accountability to the speaker, and sometimes it was, hey, let's move forward with the business, because there's so much passion, but that doesn't always create outcomes. So I really want to acknowledge facilitation. Josh and Larry, Siobhan, I know I signed up for every subcommittee, and unfortunately I can only do one at a time, so I didn't get to work with you very much. But Dante, thank you for taking this group and shepherding us forward. I think our outcomes are in large part due to that. So thank you. The other thing is, look, I don't represent a community of color, and I come from law enforcement. And I really, really appreciate the opportunity to be a part of this commission. It is truly an honor. No one will be surprised when I tell you that I speak my truth. I tell you what I think, but I also listen. I see you, Tanya, I see you, but I also listen. And thank you so much for the education and in helping me move forward. On a personal note, while I was in law enforcement, one of the tragedies in law enforcement is that by the time we figure out what we ought to be doing, we tend to retire. So let's share that wisdom with our younger officers and provide that leadership, so we get that younger and for more years. But while I was in law enforcement towards the end of my career, I really worked for change, and I got the opportunity to do a lot of that work at the state level with some SRO bills and HB 239, the juvenile justice reform. And I really took a lot of pride in being a part of that from inside the system. And when I retired, I felt a little bit lost. So I appreciate the opportunity to be a part of this commission. Hopefully I provided some wisdom and some positivity, but on a personal note, being a part of this was hugely impactful for me. And I just want to sum up, or at least end with a thought that I was inspired by Lieutenant Suarez talking about being a traitor, right? So I took my fair share of pushback from the law enforcement community. And what I have to say is this. Actively seeking the best ways to serve our community holistically and ensuring that we are serving all segments should be something that everyone in law enforcement is inspired to do. It should be our duty. It is our duty to do it. And the idea that law enforcement can't be improved by outside voices is completely false. And the highlights of that report and the highlights of our recommendations for me is what I always believed. And it was, we need conversations with community and community with law enforcement, and we understand each other better because there is a huge gap. And the more we can close that gap, the more effectively we can work together, and the better our results are going to be. And to my law enforcement colleagues, it is our duty to do it. And to community members, you already know it because you're doing it. So thank you for letting me be a part.
Speak your truth. Thank you, Steve. And thank you for being there on Juneteenth. You're a real one, man.
Thank you, Commissioner. Your voice was always a voice of wisdom and perspective. So it was always appreciated, certainly by me. So thank you so much. Commissioner Johnson?
I really appreciate being a part of this commission. I didn't know what I had signed up for when I was selected. I'm really proud to see every time on television something about the REP Commission and the change that they've put into place. And I'm so proud every time that I see that and see the fact that we were a part of a movement that has made change already here in Salt Lake City, Utah. And to echo what Steve said, I really, really like the fact that the officers that were on the commission weren't cowards. They stood up and played their role, played a part, and helped make some change, even if they weren't from a brown or black background or didn't come from that part of the community. I love that. I think Chief Brown did an excellent job holding true to fact to everything that he said he would do and implementing change. I think the facilitators were wonderful. I didn't get a chance to work with all of them, but Josh was excellent. Dante, you were incredible. Dr. Schooler was amazing. I learned a lot from all of you guys. I'm going to miss this group. And I just want to say thanks, a special thanks to Pastor Davis, because he is an amazing man. So I just want to say thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Much appreciated. And Commissioner Benouri?
I do know that Commissioner Benouri was tending to some family in need, so she may be just unavailable.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
And Chief, would you be able to relay our support to all the officers in your chain of command that have been here consistently? Personally, Sergeant Gibbons and Lieutenant Zayas, just for being here since day one, often on and off camera, and really helping us gain a greater understanding into how the department runs. So thank you for that. And also to Assistant Chief Dow, he's been awesome as well. So thank you guys.
I certainly will, Commissioner Powell. I saw your chat comments and I will make sure they hear that from you.
Thank you. And while you're there, you have the floor, Chief.
I don't even know where to start. I'm a little full of emotion right now.
Yes, ma'am. I'll go back. Thank you.
I just want to tell you, thank you. Commissioners, thank you. I didn't know where this journey would go several months ago, and we sat down, Dante, and had the first discussions. But I want you to know that you have a better police department now than we had a year ago. It's a great department. And are we done? No. This has never been, we're never going to check a box and say we're done. We're going to continue. And my commitment to you is to listen, to learn, and to grow. Those three words: listen, learn, and grow. And we can do that together. I want to thank each of you, commissioners. I appreciate the hard conversations, but the beneficial conversations that we had each week. Being able to sit and have those conversations, and really, I mean, it was really just from different perspectives, but to look at it and understand each other, and not just listen so that we could reply or have an answer, but to understand and to build a better department. Yes, there were things that we were taught, that were talked about, that we implemented as fast as we could, because they were great suggestions. But to Reverend Davis's comment, we're not done. Let's put our expectations and what we hope to accomplish in the book, and let's hold ourselves to that commitment. I want you to know, as the chief of this great organization, you have my commitment. And I want to tell each of you how much I appreciate you, how much I love you. Dante, to you and your team, Josh, Siobhan, Larry, thank you. You did an excellent job bringing us together, steering the ship when we needed it to be turned, but we accomplished. I mean, I'm part of the Major City Chiefs, and Dante, you know that group very well. You know some of the chiefs in that group, and I'm proud to say that we are months, if not years, ahead of where this country is going. Right now, they're talking about police reform and doing the things that we talked about a year ago. So I just want to again thank the Langdon Group for your leadership, your vision, and helping us get to where we are today. But my commitment to all of you is we're not done. This is a great organization, and this will be a better organization as we continue to meet and talk about how we can better serve the community. So I can't tell you again how much I appreciate and respect each of you, and love you for what you have given us as a department. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Your humility in this work is heard and felt. I think that's the important key word, is that it's felt, because we've been hearing a lot of stuff for a very long time, but we haven't been able to feel differences. And so I would just suggest that your commitment to this is felt, and even understanding the challenges you get from within your department, your commitment is felt. So thank you, Chief. And I must circle back and give myself a spanking for missing Ms. Commissioner Hawkins. So please, Commissioner Hawkins.
First of all, First of all, I'm very hurt, Dante.
I'm sorry.
You should be.
Yep. I just added one. Yep.
You know I'm quiet, I take it all in and listen, but God, to be passed up. So, when I remember the day I received a call from the mayor's office, and I thought it was a prank call. I was like, what? You're from where? I said, sure. And I didn't know what I was walking into. And when I saw the names and the people on this commission, they're like people you look up to, or you get that advice from, or there's that mentorship, and it's like, wow. And I'm part of that group. So thank you. I'm very grateful for being part of this group. I echo almost what everybody said. That's a bad thing about being the very last one. I can echo what everybody said. It's been a pleasure getting to know everyone. And I loved how everyone was able to voice what they felt, and others listened. They didn't butt in, they listened to what the other was saying. And that's just huge in a commission or on a board. Nobody was trying to prove anybody else wrong. And that's a great team. It's an awesome team. We work well together, even though we have Steve, but we work well together. Sorry. So, no, I'll miss you guys for the month. I look forward to seeing you in August. Chief, you know how I feel about you. You know I love you. I think we work, it's a pleasure working with you on everything I'm involved with you. And Dante, dude, I just don't want to talk to you anymore. And Larry, thank you for the groups that you put together, the how you mediated the listen in, is that what it's called, or here? Man, I don't know how you did it. It's just like, wow. And I wasn't able to work with Josh or Siobhan, is that right? So I'm sorry. But just thank you, everybody. And I'll see you in a month. It feels like this is like the last time I'll ever see you. And Reverend Davis, thank you. So for everything. So Moises, I'll be working with you for the interviews. So we're good. So I don't know what to say. Just thankful and grateful.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Hawkins. And in my defense, Larry was distracting me with text messages. So that's kind of what happened. So,
take accountability for your actions.
Yes, Larry wanted to say something, Dante. He's saying, give me some space.
Yep. But thank you. And again, my apologies.
No worries. Steve, I love you.
Thanks. And would also love to offer the opportunity for staff to offer any thoughts that they may wish to on behalf of the city in general, but certainly just want to say without the staff that you often don't see, this work would not have run as smoothly as it seemed to run. So I truly want to thank all of the staff who've been engaged in this work. And if I start naming, I'll miss some. So I don't want to do that, but I truly want to thank all of the staff who've been here all the time, really behind the scenes doing this work, keeping us on track, keeping us in line, and making sure we do what we're supposed to do the right way, but just keeping all the details in place. So thank you, staff, and I'll just offer you the opportunity if you wanted to offer any thoughts. Quiet like usual.
Well, I can't speak for our amazing and quiet staff members or our amazing and wonderful Miss Chief Diversity of our Chief Equity Officer, Miss Coletta, but I can say that she is incredibly proud of you all, incredibly proud of the work that you're doing. And I know that the mayor's office is very excited to see this work continue forward. This is not the end. This will continue on, and we are just going to lean on that momentum, So I just can say, just let's keep going. And thank you, Dante, for all of your work.
Thank you.
And if I could, Dante, follow up, since if I don't, it'll sound like the council is not interested, which of course is the furthest thing from the truth. I know they are very grateful for every one of you and all the work that you've done, and that they're looking forward as well to the continuation of this work. So I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Josh, Siobhan, Larry. Ladies first. So Siobhan, if you'd like to offer some thoughts.
Sure. I mean, I could repeat a lot of the things that have already been said, but I think I mostly just feel deeply honored that I was able to be in the rooms with all of you to hear the work being done, and it's just so apparent to me how passionate each and every one of you are, and to watch you give of your time each and every week is, I know you all have lives and other things going on, and so to see the passion and the thought that everybody brought to this group, both, of course, my school safety subcommittee members are close to my heart, but watching the youth subcommittee engage and watching the officers engage, and just everyone, what you brought, whether you were one of the more outspoken members or one of our members who is just really taking it all in and listening. I mean, it's just been such an honor to be, and I much like Steve, I would say that I have also learned quite a bit that I will take away from this, and it was certainly life-changing. So I thank you for all of that.
Thank you. Josh?
Yeah, thank you. This has been a great experience and an honor and a privilege. Growing up in Davis County, Utah, I didn't have a lot of diversity around me and in my life. However, my dad, one of his best friends was a Black man from Los Angeles, and I loved when he would visit. I loved when we'd go visit him and go to Dodgers games, and I desired that type of relationship I saw my dad had with Don. And I had opportunities in law school and college, but they weren't transformative in the way that my relationship with all of you have been. And I very, very much appreciate all of you. I've learned so much hearing your experiences and the legacies that you've lived and the hopes that you have. I'm so grateful that I've been able to be a part of this and appreciate this opportunity. Yeah, it wasn't easy. I remember the first day on subcommittee and we were looking at an 838-page policy manual, wondering where to start. What do we do? And MJ was so optimistic and wanted to dive in everywhere. And Carol, she had her ideas. And anyway, we started to ask questions, and Chief was so great. And my diversity buddy since 7th grade, Mark Cottrell, was so great in answering questions, and the staff was so great, and slowly started to hone in on some things and get to the root of some things. And I thank you for this opportunity. I go home after these meetings and tell my wife about it and educate my kids on what I'm experiencing, and I thank you all. All right, I'm done.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you. Larry?
Josh King gets me again. I spoke a couple of weeks ago, and so I will only say this. It is not an exaggeration to say that history will note what you all have done. And I pray that you will be able to tell your children and your grandchildren that you stood up when needed and made a difference. Thank you all.
Thank you, Larry. I have never been to Salt Lake City, but having the honor of engaging with you in this way gives me great comfort that Salt Lake City is in good hands, because each and every one of you represent your communities. And that's a powerful statement. And I've been truly humbled to be able to engage with you, appreciate and respect you allowing me to do what I've done and the way I've done it, to push, to challenge, to guide, to shape this work. But you've done all the work. You've done all the work. And that's a powerful statement. That report is yours. It's not ours, it's yours. And so I just have to say thank you, which doesn't begin to describe the gratitude that I have and the positive feeling I have for your city. and for the people you represent, and certainly for you. You know, leadership is not something that you take, it's something that's given. And you've been given that role, and you have served your community well. And it's just been my honor to engage with it. And so hopefully we all can share in the outcomes that are so positive, that are just getting started. And I look forward to seeing the continuation of this work. And I'm gonna get to Salt Lake City pretty soon, and y'all gonna see me. So I truly toast you, and much respect to each and every one of you for this work. So thank you so much. So I think that covers us for this
Dante,
evening.
I
Yes,
had
ma'am.
my hand raised because I have several friends that are afraid to come to Salt Lake City because it's like so many white people. So you can come. We'll make sure Reverend Davis protects you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
He ain't gonna protect you from me.
No, well, I can run faster than you.
All right.
What about
That's
Caucasians who are not Mormon? Can they receive similar, security and protection?
Larry, Utah's not that bad of a place, y'all. I'm telling you.
I'm sorry, I beg to differ, but Reverend Davis will protect all of you, okay? He's been here longer than any of us.
Hey, Larry, you could go hang out with Steve in that frou-frou neighborhood he lives in.
Just stay in Salt Lake City.
There's protection for everybody here, and regardless of what they look like, where they come from, what their background is. So let's all work together. We're all in this boat together. And if one end sinks, then so does the other. But if it all stands, it all stands.
We've got Chief Brown, right? We got Chief Brown.
Set him straight, Reverend. Set him straight, Reverend. I don't know about that, Chief, but set him straight, Reverend. Thank you.
Well, I give applause to each and every one of you. So thank you so much. And we will complete the additions or the edits to this final phase 1 report and get it back to you as we submit it out to the city and city council and the mayor's office, to whom I'm eternally grateful because they were very supportive and, as someone said, allowed us to do the work that needs to be done in the way it needed to be done and implement already some of the work that you've already done. So thanks to the powers that be. So in the interim, have a phenomenal month. Have a great in-person gathering. If I don't see you there, please raise a toast on behalf of all of this work. And we look forward to seeing this engagement happen again very, very soon. So thank you.
Better be here during that time.
I'll do my best. I'm not gonna bring
Right?
you.
That's not an option.
Okay, I'll do my best.
You better be here.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I know Denver PD and the gangs from Denver, so you better be careful right here.
All right, I'll keep a lookout. I'll be watching my 6, trust me.
See y'all.
All right, take care, everybody.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate working with you. Thank you.
Thank you.